Hey guys, it's M16. I've got some Glacial 112 gameplay for you, and I've got kind of like a mini review part of it, or I guess a comparison between the IS-6, which is this tank's direct competitor. I guess it's the most similar Tier 8 premium tank to the 112, and because the New Moon event is over, or at least you can't get any more tokens or you can't progress through it any farther. So I'm kind of doing this little comparison or review to basically kind of tell you whether or not I think it's worth whatever amount of money you want to spend on it. And if you didn't get it for free, then you'll just have to kind of base your purchase or not on what on this video maybe, or what other people have said about it. But the Glacial 112, this is supremacy. I did not think I was going to run into enemy tanks here, but because I did, I have to load heat, especially because, boom, there's an IS-6, and the 175 millimeters that come stock on this gun without gold rounds is not enough to penetrate the front of an IS-6 pretty much anywhere, unless you hit the weak spot, which is the turret cheek to the left side of the gun when you're looking at it. Then you'll have a shot at penetrating it, but it's a very small weak spot and it's kind of hard to hit. Anyways, killed the Jagdpanther 2. About to kill the IS-6. There we go. Yeah, they weren't paying attention to me much, so I'm kind of just getting free reign. Not going to be able to put HE into him because he's trying to run away, so I switched to AP. Hit him in the track. I'm capping this point because we kind of need it. I'm going after this T-32 now. Going to try and double team him with this IS-3. He's swinging his gun around. He aims at my gun mantlet, so that's not going to penetrate. The turret has 240 millimeters of frontal armor, but it does have those big old nasty cupolas on it like it's an Object 140. And I'll show you what happens when you find competent enemies that will shoot you in the cupolas and when you're hull down, so it's not exactly always fruitful for you. Got a shot in the Rudy, gonna chase him down, and then first shot, I get set on fire. That was from a T-71, a 76 millimeter gun. 12% chance of getting set on fire, my rear end. You get set on fire at least every fourth shot, probably more. You take to the engine or the lower glacis, because this thing's just made of fuel tanks, apparently filled with napalm, because you will get set on fire a lot. Hence why I run double fire extinguishers on this, because many times before I did that, I was set on fire, used my multi-repair kit, and then either tracked in the open and then killed, or as I was pulling back, I got set on fire again and then just burned for like 500 damage, which is not good if you want to have a good game in the Glacial 112. So really, that game, I wasn't being focused down very much by the big guns, but the little guns that did shoot at me ended up setting me on fire, and so I took plenty of damage that match. The stock ammo, the AP, does not have good penetration. It's 175. You're really going to struggle shooting things like most Tier 9s, Tier 8 heavies, Tier 7 heavies, pretty much anything with... Yeah, if it's got any amount of armor, it's not going to be a good time trying to penetrate it. Especially with the poor gun handling that comes with these 122 millimeter guns. It's just, it's not good. I run vertical stabilizer, gun laying drive, and gun rammer on this because I'm trying to get the gun handling better, because I like to take snapshots. But this is how the gun kind of performs normally when you're shooting AP. I shot HE at the RU and got a pretty good damage roll. But now I'm going up against a T-29 and a Tiger 1. Both Tier 7 heavies, not well known for having a lot of hull armor. Then you already saw that I bounced my shot off of the T-29, and this shot off of the Tiger 1, which has 100 millimeters of armor that's flat, bounced off of it. I angle and convince the Tiger to shoot up my side instead of my lower plate, but that shot made sure it went through. I don't know how the other one bounced, but it did just because that thing happens. Now, this is what you can do with the armor in the perfect position. I'm on temple, I'm going to the obelisk, I'm getting the high ground, and I'm going to get hull down. And because I have the high ground, it's going to be harder for them to hit my cupolas if they want to. Gotta shoot heat at the front of a Tiger 2 because Tiger 2s have armor that's too good for you to penetrate with 175 millimeters unless you're shooting him on the side like that. Okay, now this other 112 is pushing up on me, but I am angled and out of the high ground, so that's giving him a tricky angle, and he kind of hit my spaced armor. He's trying to go up. I pump one into his lower plate, and he's not pushing up on me far enough to actually shoot my lower plate, which I think he shot at there, but he's just not doing it good enough. So he's trying to do the same thing, but he exposed the far left of his lower plate because it was not covered by the staircase. And he did not have a good match. His platoon mate, I shot at him, hit his upper plate. You have as good of a chance to penetrate the upper plate and the lower plate with AP as you do heat, because you're not going to penetrate the upper plate with either. And the lower plate's like basically an RU. Like, it's the size of an RU, and it's the strength. It's got the same thickness as an RU. Like, the lower plate is ridiculous. You'll get penned so much, you'll get set on fire so much. It's just, at all times, at all costs, hide your lower plate. He missed because of the poor gun handling, because he was rolling forward, and he ended up hitting my tracks instead of my lower plate, so it didn't get damaged and probably set on fire, which is nice. Now I'm just going to go and kill this T-29. Boom. And there's the match, 7-1. What I have found in most instances, if the enemy team has more 112s, you're going to win. If you have more 112s, you're going to lose. Majority of the time, just as a rule of thumb, that's kind of just how it goes, because it's not... This tank, it gets focused fired because it's a new tank. People want to kill it. And it's not difficult to penetrate, like, in the slightest. You can see 8 shots, 2 penetrations, 6 without damage. Penetrations were just track damage. So, really, I didn't take any damage to my actual hit point pool because I got lucky and because I got the armor in the best possible scenario that I could have gotten it in, because I was able to hide the lower plate and I had the high ground, so they had a difficult time shooting at my cupolas. Now here is an example of when you're in a good position, but it's not like the perfect position, like the obelisk on temple. Right now I am hull down, and they're shooting at my turret, and they are bouncing. And I can't find a shot because they're kind of down there. Trying to hit the 704, it's not going to happen, but boom, that Carnarvon just sniped my cupola. It's not difficult if you got any amount of accuracy at all. I decided, screw that, I'm going to go over here and see what I can shoot. 6 degrees of gun depression, not quite enough for that angle. Changing my angle, boom, went through the Panther, tracked him, AT-15 finishes him off. Good deal. Okay, now I'm going back over to this side. I'm still hull down, hit the Carnarvon, Object 704 sniped my cupola. Like, my lower plate's not showing. And I still got hit and penetrated by the 704. It's possible he just derped it through my turret, which, I mean, if you used APCR, highly plausible. If you used regular AP, still possible, because the turret still isn't very strong, like, overall. It doesn't have that massive mantlet that just adds, like, 150 millimeters more armor that the Americans have. So the 240 is, like, a strict 240. And that 704 can just, like, blast you right through it with that BL10. But either way, in a good position, this is just not working out. That shot, he might have gotten my lower plate because he pushed up on me. But I still think it was still pretty heavily angled for him, and he still penetrated it because it's just such a weak lower plate. And I'm pretty sure he was still shooting at my cupola too, but it might have been my lower plate. Because these cupolas are they're there. And here's a shot I took on an E50, and side scraping out, trying to make sure he's not looking at me. Boom, set him on fire. He's got an automatic fire extinguisher. IS-3 comes up, sets me on fire. My fuel tanks weren't damaged at all. No modules took any damage, but he set me on fire. First shot through the lower plate, just because that's what happens when you get shot in the lower plate, because it's made of, like, fuel tanks filled with napalm, and then, like, it's just, I don't know, it's the most flammable tank I have ever played. And because it's a Russian knockoff made by the Chinese, it's also got incredibly weak ammo racks. You get ammo racks, your ammo rack gets damaged a lot in this tank. And you get full health ammo racks. Hasn't happened to me personally, but I've seen it happen to about 6 different 112s, and I've only played about 101 matches with it. Okay. This is probably the best game I've ever had in the 112. It is a mastery. It's not my only mastery, but I think it's the one where I did the most damage in. Got a shot on that enemy 112, hit his track. Bad RNG. Was aiming for his lower plate. If you look, AP's got just as much chance to penetrate as heat, because the upper plate is strong, and because it's that 112 millimeters and it's sloped back like 60 degrees. So it's just incredibly strong. You don't want to be shooting at it. I'm moving up here, being super aggressive. You probably shouldn't be this aggressive 90% of the time in this tank, just because when you'll get shot in the side like that. But also mainly because you get penned so easily. For all the armor this thing has, or this thing claims to have, it's not difficult to penetrate it, because it's got that weak lower glacis, it's got the weak turret sides, it's got the weak cupolas. It's riddled with weak spots that are just incredibly easily penetrated. So for all the armor that it claims to have, if you're not in the perfect position, if you're not hold down, wiggling so they're not shooting your cupolas, you're gonna take damage. It's just inevitable, because it's not difficult to hit the weak spots, and it's got a lot of them, especially if you're not hold down. If you're in the open, tier 7 light tanks don't have any issue penetrating your lower plate, just because it's that weak. Like, that's an issue. If you're in an IS-3, stock tier 7 light tanks wouldn't have any hope of penetrating your lower plate. Or tier 7 medium tanks even wouldn't have any hope of penetrating you from, like, just snapshotting you across the map. It happened all the time in this thing, just because the lower plate's so bad, and it's a big target as far as lower plates go. Like, it's not like E100 lower plate, but it's like Tiger 2 lower plate, but it's a lot weaker than the Tiger 2's lower plate. I know on PC, the big World of Tanks, with all the stuff that we want but we don't have yet. I know it's got 120 millimeters of lower plate armor as well, and I feel like that's what it needs. Also, I think it's got 100 millimeters of side armor, which you nerf that for Blitz too. If it was given that for Blitz, this would be a good tank. I could deal with the gun if I could actually tank some shots, but you just can't. And here I'm face-hugging this IS-6, trying to make sure he's not shooting my cupolas, which he was aiming for because they're the weak spot. But if you can, you want to face-hug tanks, unless it's like an E75. I tried that once, and he just kind of like aimed at eye level for him and just destroyed my cupolas. Still lived though, because my platoon mate saved me. But if you can face-hug, and it's not like a tall German tank, it's a good idea, because it takes away your biggest weak spot, which is that lower plate, that the Pershing just like nonchalantly driving by, boom. Because now he's aiming for my cupolas, or he was. I somehow bounced that shot. I don't know how that happened. Just the low penetration on this gun just working wonders, I guess. And then the T-54 lightweight comes around and kills the Pershing. So, yeah, the 112, when used perfectly, is a beast. But 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be in that perfect position. After, I think, 101 battles, as of me doing this commentary, I've got less than 1900 average damage in this tank. I've got, I think, a 70 or 71% win rate, and I survive about 60% of my matches. After 344 matches with the IS-6, I've got about 2300 average damage, an 86% win rate, and I survive about 78% of my matches. And that was, with most of my matches, that was without having the option of the high penetration gun that most people run on the IS-6 now, since +1, -1 was implemented. Like, it's pretty much the same gun, but it's got less penetration on the premium rounds. It's got better gun handling, but it's got a much higher rate of fire. And it's really only due to the armor. The armor is so much better on the IS-6. It's got a weaker turret front, but the weak spots are way harder to hit. The sides and rear of the turret are a lot stronger. The side is 20 millimeters thicker. The lower plate is angled at such that it's way more difficult to penetrate. Can't even be done with the 175 pen that comes stock unless you're below it. So the armor on the i6 is just so much better. Here's the side-by-side comparison of the fire, and here's the side-by-side comparison of the gun stats. For both of these, Glacial is on the left, i6 is on the right. If you want to pause and look at them like exactly side by side, go ahead. But moral of the story, i6 has better gun handling, faster rate of fire, and lower penetration on the premium rounds if you're using the high DPM gun, which is the one that directly competes with the 112. Also, the last one was maneuverability. You can see that the i6 weighs more, it goes faster, and it doesn't show it, but it's got a better horsepower per ton ratio. One of the good things compared to the i6 that the 112 has is the turret traverse and the track traverse. Track traverse is a little bit better, but turret traverse is a lot better than on the i6, and that's like the only thing you can possibly say that the 112 has that's a lot better than the IS-6. Like, even little things that you don't think will do a lot of good, like gun elevation, IS-6 has 3 more degrees of gun elevation, and there's times where I'm wishing I'm in an i6 because of gun elevation. And just i6 is just better, pretty much all around, than the 112. So if you've already got the i6, don't bother spending any amount of money on the 112 because it's not worth it at all. Just buy the Blaze, which we know is going to get a buff, but we have no clue if or when the 112 is going to get a buff, even though it badly needs one. Well, this is M16's World of Tanks Blitz replays. I hope you enjoyed my video, and as always, have a nice day.